Welcome to Faye Talks Wood Podcast. I'm Will from Fly Woodworks.
And I'm Tom from Mountain Valley Maker.
And we're a podcast about everything from Jesus to joinery, and we talk about a little bit of everything in between. Tom, this week's been kind of crazy. Pennsylvania is weird in general, and I think everywhere has their own quirks. But earlier in the week, it was pushing 70 degrees, and then we got down into sub-freezing temperatures, and I woke up yesterday morning, Saturday morning, with an inch of ice on my car that I had to beat off with a hammer, basically. And so it's just been kind of nuts around here. I'm waiting for it to get nice out so that I can start doing some stuff outside. We did get that one apple tree pruned, and every day I come home from work, I see it when I pull in the driveway, and it looks so much better. Like you can tell it's gonna thrive this year, hopefully. But yeah, just ready for this weather to break so we can start doing some stuff around the property. You know, this June 1st or that end of May will mark a year that we've been in this house. And so this summer's kind of we've been here, we're settled, and it's time to get to work. Like outside, we want our property when you drive by to say, wow, they take care of their place. And so right now, you know, there's a bunch of junk in the woods and the wood line, and you can see it from the road. And so we'll be renting a dumpster and all kinds of projects, but looking forward to that weather to break. And I got some trees I want to plant. I want to plant a bunch more sycamores on the property. They eat up a lot of water, drink up a lot of water, and they get massive and they grow quick. And so I want to plant those all around the property and get some nice shade trees and stuff like that in. But I can't do that until the weather breaks and decides it's going to stay nice. So, but man, how's stuff? Oh, side note, remember at Workbench Con, we met Andy Klein with a Pica screw, that really cool screw that hides itself.
Yep.
I know he's been posted on Instagram. He got standoffs for it, and it's starting to be used in the sign industry. Dude, it's money. Like the way that those screws hide, or the thing hides, it's really nice. So that's been really cool. I just remember that as, you know, we met him at Workbench Con and we're looking at the screw and stuff. But yeah, man, how's your week been?
Man, it's been all outside for me. Our weather this week was actually the ironic thing, you get down to 30, 32 degrees at night. And so you wake up in the morning, when you go outside, be in my overalls and a jacket. And then by lunchtime, it's warming up. And in the afternoons, it got up to 60. And so wearing shorts and a t-shirt in the afternoon. So, but I have spent the entire week outside working on the farm. The only piece of wood I've touched this week is the wooden handle on my shovel. And I'm going to tell you, my hands hurt. I have shoveled so much, but it's crazy. And then yesterday, me and my daughter went snowboarding. We got up early and we're at the slopes and tried to get one last trip in. And man, the slopes were still in amazing shape, and nobody was there. Like we literally, the most people we waited in line behind was 3 people. I joke you not, we would ride our boards right into the lift line, unbuckle, hop on the lift, go back up. We went up for like 3 or 4 hours and then came home. I think we're going to go again next Saturday, because the ironic thing, if you walk outside my house right now, it's raining at my house. But if you look up about 2,000 feet, it's about a straight line of where rain starts and then where snow starts. So they're getting snow up there right now. So yeah, we're going to hopefully get another week or two. I mean, they still have like a 5-6 foot base up there. It was phenomenal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. I was a little icy because, we've had the warm weather, and what happens is it melts and freezes over, but then they groom the slopes and kind of loosens everything up. So it was still fun, and nobody there. I could not believe, because all the spring sports. And so on the weekend, parents were with their kids at, soccer and baseball practice and things like that. So it's fantastic. I love it when you can go up there and not have to wait behind anybody.
Yeah, that weather you're talking about is what we call up here maple syrup weather. So maple syrup season is usually start pulling your buckets around Valentine's Day. And so what you want freezing temperatures at night, but then it gets up into like not that warm, but like the high 30s, 40s where the sun comes out. And that's when your sap runs out of your trees and your buckets or your tubes, whatever you're doing, it fills up. So that's the ideal. This year, I think it was kind of a short year for sap from what I've heard. But yeah, so up here in Pennsylvania, we're making maple syrup.
Dude, I love some maple syrup now. So you're going to have to send me some.
Yeah, you want some? I got the connections for sure. But man, today we have got a really special guest on the podcast. I say that because he's a buddy of mine, and I'm excited to have him share his testimony and stuff. But today on the podcast, we have Mr. Jason McFarland from McFarland Customs. And how I got to know Jason is long story. Patrick, who him and I started the podcast, we became friends, and then he realized that, like, you know, I'm a Christian and I'm a serious Christian. I'm not some, you know, lukewarm kind of guy. And so he invited me to this chat group with a few Christian guys, and Jason is one of them. And so we've all kind of grown together and all been through stuff and pray for each other and just, have that relationship on there. But, man, Jason, welcome to the podcast. Excited to hear your testimony and stuff. How you doing today, man?
Doing well, man. Appreciate y'all having me on. It's been a long time in coming. It's been wild here. So, like, you know, I know this is kind of a woodworking podcast, but these days don't do a ton of it. It's wood related because I make the Exact 90, right? But as far as like actually doing, like, making sawdust, I think the last time I did anything, ironically, I made a bunch of church pews last week. So my dad got called from, I don't know the name of the church, but there's a church somewhere around here that had a flood. And so they had to replace all the wood part of their pew, right? And so I think it was 62 parts, something like that. So we cut them out all on the CNC here. So it's kind of funny that the latest woodworking stuff I've done is also church related.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's so is that like red oak, white oak? What do you guys make those out of?
These were 1.25 inch thick plywood. It was, so we got a pew leg from them. It was oak plywood, so like it's oak on the outsides, but as far as like being solid wood, it technically wasn't. It looked cool though. Like it was an interesting look, kind of cool. I was surprised at the material. The church told us exactly what they wanted, so we went with it. And we just pretty much remade exactly what they already had.
Now, were you able to, with the CNC, map that out, map what they had to copy it, or to, you know, make your own file, or how did you do that? So
the way I do kind of odd shape like that, Patrick actually taught me this one. It's you can take a picture of an object, and if you put a reference scale, for instance, like a tape measure or a caliper, something of known size in the picture, kind of in plane with the object that you're trying to measure, you can import that photo into like a CAD software. I use Vetric. You can import it in there and scale that picture to be to an accurate size. So, like, for instance, if you pull a tape measure out and you got 12 inches shown on the tape measure, you can measure like the picture in the program and make that 12 inches. So then you can just draw around the shape, and then you've got an accurate size object that's to reference. Then you can just set up your cut paths and make some sawdust.
Yeah. Have you seen, was it Shaper has that thing where you can set something? Yeah. I think you have one, don't you, Tom?
Yeah, but it's very small. I mean, it's fantastic and what they, I think, really designed it for was for guys that wanted to, you know, cut out foam for their toolbox and stuff. I haven't measured it, but it's like up to like a 12 inch. It's like a 9 by 12 sheet of paper. That's what it is. But I've been doing that same trick that he talks. So when I go out to a job site and there's a sign up in the air, I make a reference point that I can actually measure and then take a photo, and then I can come back. So I don't have to know what the size of the sign face up in the air is, as long as I have an accurate measurement of something else. And so, yeah, man. Yeah. That's an old school trick, man.
Yeah, it messed you up though. Is like you have to have it in plane, because like if you put your measurement device like closer to the camera, the objects, it's kind of like whenever you look in the mirror on your truck, it says objects in mirror are what is it, smaller than they appear or bigger than they appear, something like that. It'll mess with the scale of how you look at things. So you got to have it in line.
That's the same exact way with the shaper trace. So, when you take a picture of it, you've got to do it perpendicular to the trace, straight up and down above it. Because if you take it, like if I had it laying on my desk and I took it back at an angle, then it's going to be like a skewed, just like when you see somebody who's a good artist and they do a painting of a street. Well, the street is tapered down on this end and widens as it goes further away, or a building, things like that. Same exact thing. You've got to take that picture directly above it. I mean, it works really well, but you still have to use some technique with it.
I thought I saw on the shaper somebody posted something on Instagram that you could just like set it down on the table and you can take a picture at any angle because of the marks on there. It'll do the adjustment of the thing. Isn't that how that's supposed to work?
I think I've seen
maybe it's
something like
supposed to, but not for me.
Really?
Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I just take the picture straight up above it and it works great. But
okay, gotcha. Interesting. Anywho, so Jason, as you know, and our listeners know, we want to hear about the faith journey of our guests, and so tell us about your testimony, man. Did you grow up in church, or find the Lord later? Like, what's your story,
I have
man?
been in church since as early as I can remember. I've been blessed to grow up in a Christian family, so like God has been a part of like my atmosphere pretty much since day one. So the cool part about this is on Wednesday nights we're doing a like a basics kind of thing in a little small group class. So last week we were talking about testimonies. So it's kind of cool that this all kind of, so it's kind of, I've already got it sparked in my brain. It's kind of interesting that all this laid out the way it did. It's kind of like God has an idea of what he's doing, right? It's crazy how he'll lay stuff out. So I was saved in a what's called a revelation house. So during like the Halloween season, instead of going to like scary houses, what we did as a kid was we went to what's called revelation houses, and it was kind of like an outreach that was, I don't know, like scary related during that time. And what it was is the one that we went to had like a bunch of different rooms that you go through, and it was like different scenes during the time of revelation. So whether it was like as the rapture was happening, so you'd have like these people that were disappearing and like going up and doing all kind of crazy stuff. Well, anyhow, I don't remember what all the rooms were. There was one room that struck me, and just it like it was the devil. It was the devil room. So like you were like, quote, in hell. So you walk in and the devil is sitting there talking to all of these people that were going to hell, and was explaining, it doesn't, he was talking about all the things that they did right in life and how, they were this great person. They did all these good works, and they were really good people, but they didn't listen to what they were supposed to do. Right. They didn't believe in God. And I was like, I don't want to be on the wrong side of this fence, because that's a really mean dude. And so my basic understanding as a kid, I was like, I don't want to be with the devil. I want to be with God. So I was like, that's an easy decision, because like the devil's a bad guy. He's really mean, really ugly, really, really nasty. So that was my light switch as a kid, because I was scared to go to hell. So I decided that Jesus was the side of the team I wanted to play on. And that's kind of the long and short of it. The interesting part about it, though, is what always got like the kind of gets me is it was a youth event that I tried really hard to get out of going to. Like, I did not want to go to that youth event. I had no interest, and I just kept making up excuses after excuses. And then, like, the day gets there, my parents are like, "Look, you're going. This isn't you don't have a choice. Like, you need to go. It'll be good for you." And Lord have mercy, it was good for me, because that was the night I got saved. So it was. I'm glad that I had parents that made sure that I was involved in church, and because it changed my life, that's for sure. So if you're a kid, you're a teen, and your parents are making you go to church. It's good for you.
So now, in that journey from when that happened to where you are now, have you always kind of been on the straight and narrow, or have you felt like at times you've maybe become distant at all, or has it just always been part of who you are, is to be in church, in the faith, and part of God's family?
No, it's always, I'm not necessarily have always been like super sold out doing soul winning and stuff like that. I've definitely had a lot of like lukewarm, but I've always been in church. It's like, if we're not in church on Sunday, it's either like we're out of the country on like a cruise, or somebody's sick, or here lately it's been my wife's pregnant, and we don't get around and get out of the house quick enough. So that's been 2 or 3 weeks ago. We didn't go like 3 or 4 weeks, but luckily our an online live stream, so like we were still able to, like, quote, go to church, watch church, but it's definitely different in person. It's definitely better. I love it.
Absolutely. Are you, what kind of, I guess I should know this, but I guess I don't. What denomination, or what church are you guys a part of?
We go to a church called Peavine Baptist. It's a Southern Baptist church.
Okay. Is that the Southern Baptist Convention? Are you guys part of the SBC, or is it more independent?
I believe they're part of the Southern Baptist Convention. I grew up independent Baptist. Me and Patrick actually grew up in the same church, so that's how me and him got to know each other. We've been friends since, I think I was like 7. I want to say we have been friends for like 22, 23 years. Yeah, we grew up in the same church, West Jacks Baptist,
Okay.
Jacksonville, Florida. Yes, I've grown up Baptist, still Baptist. It's been my go-to for forever.
Yeah, it's funny. I go to a non-denominational church, but as I heard Tim Hawkins say once, it's basically a Baptist church with a cool website. So
Yeah. I think was technically non-denominational. It was called what was that place called? We didn't go there for very long. It was like one of those like cool churches that I was just a silly kid, but I can't remember what it was called. It was a little much though. Right. I mean, it was like rock band for music, and it was, I don't know, it was crazy.
And that's all from perspective. I know Tom goes to a bigger, more kind of mainline kind of church, a church in Tennessee that my wife and I were part of. I mean, we're in Nashville. It was like going to a concert, but it wasn't, because the atmosphere and the intentionality was to worship God. And if you were on stage, because I was one of the drummers, you weren't allowed to be on stage if it was about you and your talents. Like,
that's cool.
Like, our worship pastor was super strict. Like, he's like, I don't care. And we had like Kelsey Ballerini's guitar player, and like all these big artists were part of our worship team, but they weren't there because of who they were as far as their profession. They were there because of who they are in the Lord. And they knew that Like if everybody knew, like if it ever got to your head, you were gone.
Right.
Because that's not what it's about. But it was, I mean, of course I played drums. I mean, it was very much, if you hear any of the popular worship songs, more than likely they did it. Now they were very discerned on what they sung because not everything is edifying to the Lord.
It sounds like a very similar case to the church we go to now. I mean, they've got drums up there, electric guitar, all the cool stuff. We during Christmas last year, our guitar player did a guitar solo that was just insane. It was phenomenal. But so like we definitely have a little bit of heat to our music. I love it though. But the church we went to, they were almost like they would lean more like secular music almost on stage. So it was like not like loud upbeat Christian music. I'm all for that. This was more almost secular. Like
I've seen churches that will play like U2 and like, you know, stuff like, oh yeah, it's a thing to where churches like their intro song will be like Blink 182 or like U2 or like some popular band. It's a thing.
If I remember right, they had a line from one of Eminem's songs in like an intro one day. Like whenever we were walking in, like I haven't always listened to amazing music, so like I immediately recognized the song when I was like walking in. They didn't have it playing like during service, but like the pre-service, like everybody's getting in the building. Like,
right.
Yeah, they had like an Eminem song playing. And I was like, dude, like I don't. Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Our church has music going or our church in Tennessee as you were walking in, but it was all like Christian stuff. It was like Lecrae, or it might have been, you know, just whatever Bethel worship, whatever it was, right? It was just, that's pretty cool, man.
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. So, tell us about your woodworking journey, because you basically were born and raised in a cabinet shop. So yep. I think you were building cabinets probably when you were in diapers. I don't know.
Yeah. We had sawdust in my child boogers. So my dad, whenever I was first born, was in the Army, but he went more into the like cabinet building business back in, I think like 04, 05, I think. Ended up starting his own business before the market crashed, but didn't quite have a big enough business to make it through the market crash. So everything crashed back in, 2008. And then we moved up here to Chattanooga. He worked for a guy up here for a little while, building cabinets again. And then eventually stepped back out on his own once he was able to do that again. So I've been around cabinet building my entire life. It's been, if I was old enough to walk, we were looking at sawdust. So it's been a lifetime thing. I wasn't involved with it up until I was probably 18 or so. Not because I just wasn't interested. I just kind of did my own thing. I like straight out of high school, I did a bunch of like grass mowing. Then I went and worked at Chick-fil-A for a while and Costco. And then I eventually went and worked at the jail. I worked at the Hamilton County Jail for a year. And then it started going south. I had some issues there. That's a long story. And I was talking to my dad about it one day, and he's like, dude, so you're kind of looking for an out, and I really need a dependable guy. I'm swamped. So I was like, well, there's the key. I'll just come hang out and help out for a little while. And then ended up working there for years. And I think I worked for him for about 4 years, I want to say. But during all the time I was working with him, I was always doing side projects all the time. He does typically like full house custom cabinets for like high end stuff. And I wanted to do like little furniture builds here and there. So like tables, a couple of different tables is really kind of what got it started. I did some really neat tables. And it got to the point to where every now and then I would need to like take off from work so that I could really sit down and focus on the project I was working on the side so that I could get these things out when I told the clients I was going to have them done. And it got to the point to where I was needing more time off than I was at work. So me and dad were like, dude, I think it's time to just go full time. So I stepped out, just did a couple of furniture builds, and kind of quickly decided that for me, I didn't like the pressure of having to build furniture as a living. It took the fun out of it for me because I didn't get to kind of just take my time and do it as a side gig. I liked it better as a side gig because I didn't have to do it kind of like it didn't have to be done at a certain time to make sure that my bills were paid. But once you're doing it full time, like you have to have things on a regular basis being done. So it got backed up, and I think it was more because I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't know what I was doing yet. I still don't. So I kind of stepped out of that and went more towards business to business woodworking. I've gotten in with a couple of cabinet shops locally doing like odd CNC stuff for them. Like there's one shop that I have done an absolute insane amount of reeded cabinet doors. I don't know if you've ever seen those, but those are cool. They have a bunch of like lines running up and down the doors, and to make them by hand is an absurd amount of time, but I can run like an entire door in an hour. And where typically it would take you 3 or 4 hours to make a door. And even if you could do it by hand, you can't do some of the things I do with it. And what I mean by that is like, if you make a reeded door by hand, you have to make all your individual reeds. And typically they're like 3/8 of an inch wide. And you just stack a bunch of 3/8 beads next to each other and then cut a door out of that. I will take in the CNC and spread or shrink the reeds to be an equal amount across the door. So if it's instead of like a 0.375 wide bead, it's like a 0.372 or a 0.38, whatever it needs to be, so that the beads are all equal width all the way across the door. And you can't really do that by hand. So I've done a bunch of the business to business stuff, and I like it a lot more. It's a lot more like a scalable thing as well, because you can really spread that around. But lately I've been doing a bunch of 3D printing. That's really where my heart is 3D printing. So like woodworking, I enjoy, I've grown up around it, but for me, I love 3D CAD and melting plastic. It is, oh my goodness, I spend an insane amount of time playing in Shaper 3D. It's I wish I could get sponsored by them, because I've spent, I think, most of my waking hours in Shaper 3D in the last year. It's crazy how much time I've spent in that program. But that's kind of my woodworking history. I've grown up around it. I've done a bunch of cabinet work. Is really the woodworking side I've been on, which isn't like your normal like furniture making kind of thing. Like, I'm not a great furniture maker. I'm a really good cabinet maker, though. There's definitely two different sides of the fence there. But I will say I'm a much better 3D printing guy than I am woodworking, for sure.
Ugh. Yeah, I know. I had reached out to you randomly one day a while back. I saw this little bear that a vendor at work had sent us, a little 3D printed bear that had like movable arms and legs, and I was like, and a head that bobbled. I'm like, that's pretty cool. So then I think I sent the group chat. I was like, I want one of these, and then you side chatted me like, dude, I can make that. Find the file, and then I found the file, and you made me like 15 of them.
Yeah, those things are cute. I made an extra one for myself. I've got it sitting up on top with a bunch of other little printed toys.
Right. So the 3D printing thing, how did that? Because I remember when you were starting the Exact 90, because I was over at Patrick's, we were all hanging out, and he was helping you kind of tweak the file to get the Exact 90, whatever, get it all dialed in. And then it's switched now now it seems like I think it is you're the 3D printing guy, and so like everybody asks you the questions. Now you've really dove into it, and how did that all happen? When did you get into 3D printing, and when did you like the Exact 90 was kind of your first big thing, and then now you're doing the Mac mounts, but like where'd that all come from?
The 3D printing journey is an ironic journey. So like I said, I've got a woodworking background. I stepped out on my own doing furniture. And so I bought my first printer was an Ender 3 Max Neo. I didn't know what I was buying at the time. I didn't even know what an Ender 3 was. Patrick had talked to me about some different printers, but neither one of us at the time really knew what was up. He had gotten a couple of different printer things with the place he was working at doing like reviews, but neither one of us were really like 3D printing guys, I would say. But I was like, that's a really cool little toy. I'd like to get one. And like the funny thing about it, the ironic part is whenever I got one, I told my wife, I was like, this is just going to be a toy. Like, I don't want this to turn into a tool. Like if I was buying a chop saw or miter station, a table saw, something like that, like that's a tool. Like I'm going to buy this to make money with. I was like, I don't want to buy another machine and have another tool. Like I want to have a hobby. Like I want to have an outlet that's not work. So I bought an Ender 3 Max Neo just to print, toys on. Well, I had no intentions of turning that into any kind of a business, but I ended up wanting to make an edge sanding attachment. So I was like, I'll get into making one of these, and then a couple of months. That's a really cool idea. You should advance that and like sell it. And I'm like, well, I might look into it. And so one thing after the other, I start, spending a bunch of time tuning this thing in, the printer, because an Ender 3 is not like just a ready-to-go machine that makes production parts. So spent a bunch of time fixing it, and turns out I had like a dud of a machine. That thing was hot trash. I could never get the thing to print right. But I ended up getting a couple different printers, and we kept making the Exact 90, all kinds of different changes to it. Because whenever I first got into it, I didn't even know what 3D printing was. So I didn't know anything about wall count and infiltrate, overhang lengths and all this different kind of crazy stuff that you could get into whenever you really deep dive into 3D printing. So the first few versions of the Exact 90 were just awful, but which is to be expected because I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. But it kind of just grew out of a hobby and interest. And then I come to realize I was like, I'm not the only guy that's ever done this. There's another guy in, I think it's London, Luca Tools. He makes an edge sanding adapter that's amazing. The thing's incredible. He's got a bunch of like the sanders that are over on that side of the pond. He's got a couple of other things that are over here, but I've tried to stay away from the stuff he's already got because like his are better than mine, I think. I'm trying to come up with some stuff that's as good as his. I've got the Pro line. If y'all have seen those worked on, they're kind of similar to the way he's done his stuff. But he's making some cool stuff. But I don't know, man. It's kind of funny how the whole thing has the quote, I'm not gonna use this to make money, and now I've got, well, Monday I'll have 2 more, but I've got 4 Bamboo Lab P1S machines that run nearly nonstop now. It's kind of crazy. But the Mac mounts thing was also a happenstance thing as well. A couple of weekends ago, me and my dad, we scheduled out like some bro time just to get together and hang out because since both of us own businesses, we don't ever see each other. It's unfortunate, but it's just kind of how starting businesses go is you just sink too much time into them. But we decided to get together and hang out. We were going to go out to his property and do a bunch of shooting. Well, the day we picked ended up raining like all day long. So we were like, well, we got to find something else to do. So we were like, well, let's just run around to a bunch of different gun stores and just look at gun stuff, different cleaning kits. We might pick up some ammo for some shooting later. Well, we knew all the regular gun stores around here. You got Bass Pro and Cabela's. Cabela's is not is Cabela's a thing anymore? I don't think Cabela's is a thing anymore. I think it got bought by Bass Pro. Anyhow, so we went to a couple of the big gun stores, and then we were like, I wonder if there's some small gun stores we don't know about around here. So we jumped on Google and we found a place local. We were like, we're going to swing through this store and check them out just to see what they are, because their website didn't have a whole lot of info about it. Well, we get there and they're not technically like a gun store. They're a gun builder. So they build like some really crazy high-end wild guns that are like $10,000 AR-15s, just a bunch of crazy, insane stuff. MP5s, automatics, just the higher end, like collector guys that have, this super deep pockets that you can just dump money into. And I was like, this is a really cool store. We're just hanging out. Me and my dad, like we're good at shooting, but neither one of us have ever like had wild guns. Like we're just, we've got a couple shotguns, couple 22s, AR-15s, nothing insane. So we were kind of out of our league whenever we got there, because those guys are these gun nuts that know, like, I don't even know what to say. Like they know the ins and outs, kinds of guns. So we felt kind of odd, but we hung out for about an hour or so, just kind of getting, I don't know, just talking shop, I guess. And at the end of it, I just kind of shot my shot, and I was like, hey, I've got a couple of 3D printers. I'm trying to, print some stuff for local spaces, and if businesses need stuff, I don't know, I've got a printer. And they were like, all right, cool, yeah, we'll keep that in mind if we need something. And so a couple of days later, I was like, you know what? I kind of want to just shoot them a message on Instagram just to kind of, keep your name fresh. Because if you don't keep your name fresh, they'll forget about you, right? So I shot them a message on Instagram, and they immediately shot me a text back. I was like, hey, yeah, I'd love to have a couple of wall mounts. Like the mounts we've got for these, the wall panels in here are like super generic. And I said, well, I don't make anything like that, but like I'm really good at designing stuff, so I could for sure make something. So a couple of days later, I brought in like version 1 of an AR-15 mount, because I've got an AR, so I was able to use that to make a mount for the stuff that they've got. And it's just kind of exploded from there. They've let me borrow all kinds of crazy stuff to make really nice mounts for all different things. But it just kind of happened. Like I didn't like want to start a gun mounts, business, but I saw a market and I was like, I'm going to go for it. So it's not really taken off yet. I've not done a whole lot other than like local sales. I've got the website. I've got a couple of things on there, but it's only been like mag mounts has only been a thing for a couple of weeks now, but they have shown me some interest. And the reason I kind of sank a bunch of time into it was because these guys, like I said, they're gun nuts. So like they know the ins and outs of all the gun side of the stuff. And they were like, these are the coolest mounts I've ever seen. Like they were shocked at like the kind of stuff I was coming up with. So I was like, maybe the not knowing about guns kind of thing lets you look at it in a fresh eye, so you can make stuff that's not normally already being made. Does that make any sense? I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, they were like, these are super cool. So I just kind of stuck with it, and I was like, I think I'm gonna lean into this. And so far it's been pretty fun. I've got a bunch of mounts I've made, so it's the direction I'm headed right now. The exact 90 thing's not going anywhere. We're still doing all that, but trying to spread and go multiple directions, because multiple lines of income is definitely better than just one. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. That's the 3D printing journey that we're on, melting crazy amounts of plastic. I think we hit our 150 kilogram mark the other day. I think I've ordered 150-ish kilograms of filament in the last year or so. So a bunch of plastic.
Now, you had said to me, I think we talked one day about the gun market. So the sander market, like I've got a sander, I buy a mount from you. That's probably the last transaction you're going to get from me. However, gun dudes spend money, and they buy new guns all the time, and and so if you could tap into a market where guys like to display their guns in a way that is different, And then every time they buy a new gun, they're like, well, I need a mount for that now.
Right. There's a term, and I may mess it up, but it's I think it's called like customer lifetime value or something like that. It's pretty much like how much that like one single customer will purchase from you. So like with the Exact 90 thing, like you were saying, somebody might like the most attachments, the most Exact 90s I've ever sold to one person ever is 2. And that was kind of a shock. And it's only happened twice. I had somebody a couple of days ago actually just order 2 adapters at the same time, which makes sense. Like you only need one Exact 90. Like even if you have 3 sanders, typically you're not going to have like an Exact 90 for every single sander you have. You don't really need an edge sander on 7 sanders. But if you've got 18 guns in your house, you'll buy 18 mounts. So that customer is going to buy 18 things from me. And then 2 months from now, whenever they buy another gun, they're going to come back and buy another mount. So like the business side of it, it makes a lot more sense in the gun mount thing, because like one customer will continue to come back over and over and over and over again. And like you were saying, the sander thing is also, it's more of a hobby. So like the Exact 90 is for makers, and being a maker, I'm kind of I don't know if cheap's the right word, but frugal, because I've got this I can make it myself mentality. So like I have a hard time like buying stuff that I can make myself. So the Exact 90 is kind of marketed at that kind of person. So they're not likely to just buy a bunch of stuff. Now, that's not a bad thing at all. Like that's me. Like I'm that guy. But the gun people are hobby people typically, and people just absolutely dump money into hobbies. Like it's silly how much money these people will spend, especially whenever you get into guys like there's one guy I'm working with right now. I'm outfitting his entire gun room. He's got like, I don't know, $200,000 worth of guns. And it's wild. Like whenever they shot me a picture of this gun room, I thought it was a store. Like that's what it looks like. It looks like a gun store. And the guy was like, nope, this is just my house. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of nuts. So like this one guy is more than likely going to buy more than like $1,000 in mounts. Just one person. So that's kind of another reason why I'm really leaning into that, because the customer value, like per customer, is a lot higher in the mounts, the gun kind of world. It's a lot of fun.
A guy like that's got a room full of guns. He's going to buy another gun, and he's going to need a mount for it because he wants to show it off just like all the other ones. And so he
texted me like 2 days ago and like, hey, I just bought this gun. I need you to make a mount for it. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, so you're 110% right. Like that's already happened.
Now, here's a thought, and this is just me brainstorming on it. Is there a way that you could implement a mounting system? It doesn't have to be the same thing, like on the pegboard kind of thing, but a mounting system that a normal guy could use, like maybe a mount like that you could put on the side of your dresser, or maybe a mount that you goes into a gun cabinet, right? Some way to,
Yeah, we're already doing that. So originally when I first started, I was making them for a system called Gallotech. And only because the like I said originally, like whenever we went into that store, their display system in the whole entire store is they had a bunch of panels on the wall that were Gallotech panels. Now those are absurdly expensive. Like you can spend thousands of dollars outfitting a room in Gallotech panels without mounts, like just the panels for the wall. It looks really cool. I'll never have it unless Gallotech just wants to send out a bunch of stuff. But no, all the mounts that we have work on sheetrock. You can screw them straight to the wall. If you want to like run metal tapping screws through it into like the inside of a safe, I've not put time into the inside of the safe thing yet. I've not thought about it. That's like I said, it's only been a couple of weeks. So we've got Gallotech for all the mounts that we've got and then sheetrock, of course, for everything. And then I'm actually also working on an IKEA panel. I think it's called Scatus. I've got some panels here at the house that another gun store I'm working with uses Scatus panels, because instead of like $100 a panel, they're like $20 a panel. So like I've got one of those. I ordered one of those, and I'm making some mounts for that system. But no, for sure, all kinds of different mounting systems is for sure going to be a thing. But sheetrock it already. But I've got it designed to where the little pegs on the back of all the mounts that locate into the Gallitech panels are optional. So the hole in the back of the mount that I've designed for a pin to locate into it. You put a little dot of super glue on it, and it's not a structural thing at all. It's just a locating pin, really, so that you can easily put it on those Gallitech mounts, and then you put your bolts through it. So they're actually bolted to the panels. So if you've seen my Instagram page for Mac mounts, you can see they're extremely strong. Like I jumped on one of them, and then the other day, I don't know if you've seen this one, I hung a steel chainsaw on the end of a barrel. So there was a lot of leverage hanging on that thing. I ended up breaking it, but the reason it broke is because I took the chainsaw and bounced it like 15 times, and then it eventually cracked. And I was like, well, probably should take the chainsaw off the end of the barrel, because you probably shouldn't be doing that, but they're strong enough to. But yeah, those bolts are that are holding in. But it's like you were asking. There's all sorts of different systems that we're going to be working on, but sheetrock, the back of them are flat, so like if you want to just screw it to anything, you can screw any of them to anything.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very cool. Well, we'll roll into shop talk. Tom, haven't heard from you, man. What you got going on in the shop? What's going on in Mountain Valley Makers world?
Oh, this last week, nothing but working with a wooden shovel handle. But I was working out on the farm all week. But I hate to say, I'm thankful that I had some projects I had to get done outside, but it's raining out there now, and so I've got 3 signs I've got to get built this week. So I'll be in the shop working on those 3. One I have to have installed by the end of the week, and the other 2 have to have installed next week. But I'm just going to spend the whole week in the shop, so it'll be nice to make some sawdust and not be out shoveling. And I did get a bunch of tractor time this week, so that was kind of nice. But yeah, but that's all I've been doing.
A quick question about that. I would like to get into making signs for businesses. How do you get into that? Like, that's kind of another thing I want to do with the like business to business side of the thing. How do you get sign business?
Well, you've already got all the tools to make it, with your CNC.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have a vinyl plotter or not. But if not, that's a very cheap piece of equipment. For me, I started in the vinyl graphics, doing vehicle graphics many, many years ago. I've been doing this stuff for like 25 years. But once you understand vector graphics, that's the only difference between making a gun mount or a shape, like the exact 90s shape is it typically going to have a logo or letters, and then, learning different materials and stuff. 'Cause that's really, what sets one sign company apart from another is just creativity. It's just like you were talking about how the guy talked about your gun mount being nicer than all the other ones he seen. It was your creativity, and then customer service, So, and the one thing about the sign industry, and it's just like every other industry, you can, like with vehicle wraps, I use 3M. I'm a 3M certified installer. Their material is insanely expensive, but it's the best in the industry. Nope. No, there's not even a second place. I mean, second place is far off. But it's like their sandpaper, like their extract sandpaper is wild compared to everything else. 3M, everything they make is top notch. I mean, their stuff's expensive, but it's good. But then there's other brands out there that you could, my competitor could go do an auto route, and I could do with that cheap brand, I could do an auto route with a 3M brand, sit them side by side. You'll never tell the difference today. Where you will tell the difference is 6 months, a year from now. That's when you start finding out who put the good stuff on and who put the bad stuff on. And then when it comes times to remove, like 3M guarantees easy removal, not easy removal. They guarantee removal for up to 5 years on vertical surfaces. And man, if you use it, I'm not going to trash any brands on here, but the cheap brands, dude, it's a nightmare to get off. Because the adhesive separates from the back end. It's just so, but same thing with any industry. There's people that's going to do it the cheap way, and there's people going to do it the high end way. You can,
right.
But yeah.
So is your customer base, is it all like word of mouth, or do you do like advertising? Do you reach out to businesses? How do you get people that are like, hey, I need a sign to be made? Like, how do you get that contact?
So I'm going to tell you two scenarios. So let's rewind 25 years ago. And ironically, I was talking to a friend about 25 years ago. I put an ad in the Yellow Pages, before the internet and Google and all. No, dude, like advertising was much, much easier back then. You paid for your ad. That was the place everybody went when they wanted something. It's like everybody goes to Google now. Well, the problem with Google, unless you got a buttload of money, is if you're not in that first 3 people that pop up, nobody goes to page 2. Nobody.
No, I didn't even know there was a page 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like if you scroll all the way down to past like 15 listens, at the bottom there's a little thing that shows page 2, 3, 4. 5. Nobody. If you're on one of them, no. So for me, I put a Yellow Page ad in 25 years ago for my first 2 to 3 years in business. After that, I canceled it because all my business came from word of mouth. It's from me doing just like that gun guy that's got that 2000. He hangs out with other gun shooters. You're going to get more business from him, from his buddies. And that's how I have gotten my business for the last 25 years. It's like somebody who did your vehicle, who did your sign. And I've always believed, and I still believe in business cards. At that gun shop, I would make sure they always have a stack of my cards, because every time they sell a gun, they'll hand that somebody your card and be like, this guy makes our mounts type thing.
Yeah. So every gun in their store is on one of my mounts now. So that's kind of my, I guess you could call that a business card. Like, they see, as soon as they walk in the store, they see the guns, but they also see the mounts that they're on, because they just look so good because everything's level and flat and nice and secure. But yeah, business cards are
the last
something
thing
I should
you
probably
want
get into.
is a customer to go in their store, see the mount, and them ask, where'd you get that mount? And they'll say McFarland Customs, and the customer walk out. They walk out, they get in their truck, they forgot your name. You want them to hand, put something in that bag or that box or that gun case, whatever, that has your contact, your web information, your phone number, whatever it is. But now I've sold my business. I moved to an entirely new place across country, and nobody knows me here. And so now I'm having to start that process all over, and it's slowly growing. And it's the same exact thing where, like the sign I got to do for Friday, it came from me doing a job that somebody else told them about. And then, and over time, I'll build back up that reputation out here that I had in North Carolina. But right now I don't have the business. The advertising on the web, talk to somebody like Will. I have not had success unless you have deep pockets for advertising on the internet. So,
right.
I don't.
Yeah, the thing with Google is SEO. SEO is search engine optimization. And so it's in, like, if you have a Shopify website, which I think you do, Jason, there's a section in there for SEO. And what that is, it's metadata that's keywords and stuff that are baked into your website code that Google uses to search for the topics, for the results that you get when you search something. And so,
I didn't know that.
yeah. So the SEO, if you have good SEO, you're going to have better results. And here's what I'm going to tell you. With the world we're in now, go on ChatGPT. You know what that is? You know, the AI thing?
Oh yeah, I use ChatGPT for like all kinds of stuff. Like most of my my item descriptions are wrote by ChatGPT. Of course, I go through and change a couple of things in there, but a lot of my my like data that's on listings is ChatGPT. I love ChatGPT. It's useful.
Go into ChatGPT and say, write me SEO SEO metadata for, and whatever your business is, and just tell it, like, for this, and then it'll spit out a bunch of words and stuff that you'll copy and paste into your website, and that'll help a lot, because that's the big thing. And to Tom's point, whenever you go on Google and you search something and the top ones say sponsored, like the top, I'd never click on those.
Same.
Do not click on them. Scroll down a little bit, and even if it's like you're searching for something and you're searching for Mac mounts, and there's a Mac mounts and it says sponsored, then there's the actual Mac mount site down below. I always go to the one down below because it's advertising companies that are basically paid to put that there, right? So I give this company 10 grand, and they're going to make sure that mine is the top 3 results that says sponsored. And actually, in my line of work, where I work at, if you click on a sponsored link, it's blocked. You have to click on the actual link. Yeah, we block it because what that does is when you click on a sponsored link, it grabs cached information from your browser and saves it and stores it and makes you a customer, right? It puts a profile to you. So that's why
another half to that is if, and I could be wrong about this, I don't think I am. So like on my Etsy store, if you find my Etsy store through Google on like one of those sponsored ad things, I have to pay I think it's like it's almost like $9 in ad fees. But if you scroll down and you don't click on the ad one and just go straight to the store and then buy it, like it's like as the customer, it doesn't make a difference. Like they're gonna pay the same thing either way. But as the seller, like I'm gonna make more money because you didn't click on the advertisement.
Exactly.
Now, of course, like if you never saw it at all, like I'd rather pay the $9 and make some rather than none, but like don't click on the ad, just go straight to the page.
Right. Yep. That's exactly it. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Jason, what you got going on in the shop? I know you're 3D printing like crazy. So you said you got 4 Prusas and you got 2 more coming?
Bamboo Lab.
Bamboo,
I currently I've had 2 Ender 3s. Both of them were the V2s. I've had an Ender 3 Max Neo, an SVO 6. I've had 4 Prusa Minis. Those things are insane. They're awesome. I bought them all used from a massive farm in Atlanta, so I have no idea how many thousands of hours were on those things. I know I put thousands of hours on them after I bought them used, and they were still incredible machines. The only reason I got rid of them is because they're small. They're 180 by 180, which is like, let me see. Hang on. Let me look it up. Let's see. 180 millimeters is 7 inches. So it's a 7-inch square that you're printing on. So it's kind of small. So I can only print one exact 90 on a Prusa Mini. So, which is fine. Like you can print one at a time, but if you could print a bunch at a time, it's a lot more efficient. So I can load up 4 exact 90s on a Prusa, or not a Prusa, a Bamboo Lab P1S, and run it for like 22 hours or something like that, depending on which model it is. So I can start a print and then I'm done for the day. Now I'm not actually done. Like I do like a bunch more than just that, but it's a lot more efficient to have one printer doing 4 printers jobs. And you can print a bunch of stuff faster on a Bamboo Lab as well.
The Bamboo, they're known for their speed, right?
Yeah, they are. They're wildly fast machines. I don't print crazy fast. I print faster than like the P1 or the minis did, but I keep mine at a manageable pace so that I can guarantee quality stays top notch. Because as you print faster, the trade-off is like you trade quality for speed. So not to say that like super crazy fast stuff can't be quality, but the faster you go, the less quality you get. So I'll slow mine down some just to make sure that everything is exactly the same, super strong. Because another thing, like as you run faster, your layer adhesion isn't as well because you're like the layer below it doesn't have time to bond into the one above it. If you're cooling it off really quickly, printing super, super quick, you have to turn all kinds of different settings around. But anyhow, yeah, it's like keeping things at a manageable pace is good for keeping quality parts. I've got nearly 1,000 hours on one of the Bamboos. The other one that I just got a couple of weeks ago is almost at 400 hours. So, and all I've done is I plug them in and send a file to them. That's it. I've done no tuning, no maintenance, no upkeep, no upgrades. They're just workhorses. It's buy it and print with it.
Well, that's what Travis from Shop Nation, he's moving to Bamboo for everything. He's got that massive print farm, and that's from what I understand, the comparison that in the IT world, Bamboo printers are like iPhones. Like they're like the Apple of printers because you don't need to do anything to them. You just out of the box plug them in, run, and they're like.
Did you see his video from the other day? Was comparing Prusa to like BlackBerry.
Oh yeah. Yep, that was a good video.
Yep. 100% right. Like Prusa makes incredible stuff. Don't get me wrong; they're incredibly reliable. Any issues with any of my Prusas, but they're the BlackBerry. Like they're going to be the old guy unless they change some stuff. Because like their XL is a super cool machine, but for $3,500, like I can get a lot of super cool that does a lot better, a lot faster, a lot cheaper.
Right.
Well, not necessarily a lot better, a lot faster, a lot cheaper, but like the value, the quality is just as good on like a Bamboo for $850 shipped to your house. Like you're not, I don't know. Yeah, they're awesome machines, but unless they do some different stuff, they're going to fall behind really quickly.
He also got that. He posted a video of that like 4x4 printer.
That thing's a monster. I know a bunch of different guys that are just in the 3D printing world that aren't the woodworking side of stuff that like they were all talking smack about like how ridiculous that machine is. It's just huge. I think it's got like a 4-zone heating area. Like the bed is so big, you have 4 different build plates on it. They're monsters. What is it? The Elegoo Orange or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it's called. It's huge. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So anything else going on? You more 3D printers coming? You got any CNC work coming down the pipeline or?
I'm actually doing a little bit of woodworking. I've got my neighbor. I'm actually building a porch swing for. We're doing have you seen those twin size mattress?
I built
porch
one.
swings.
Yeah.
You have? So yeah. I'm currently building one of those. I'm doing the porch swing. I've got all the parts cut. I've got the mattress in. I just have to put the parts together, and then of course paint it. But So we've got the porch swing going, and then I had a guy message me on Facebook a couple of days ago about building an oak bookshelf. So I'm going to put a quote together probably Monday or Tuesday and send that over to them. I don't know. They were kind of odd, but like some people are just odd when you talk to them online. So I don't know. I don't know if they were legit or not, but we'll see. He seemed legit, but I don't know. Some people are just strange. But so those are the two projects we've got going right now. Nothing else really. My focus has been 3D printing is really where my focus is right now. Trying to get in with the gun world.
I like it.
May go to a gun show next weekend and just talk to some different businesses that are local.
Yeah. Take a bag full of your mounts with you.
Yeah. That's the plan.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Super excited about that porch swing though, because my new kiddo is going to get to swing on it a whole bunch. So I'm making sure that porch swing is very well built.
I am about to send you. I just sent you on Instagram the post for mine, the one I built. It's awesome, man. As far as my shop time, I built and I posted. I think I posted a picture on. Yeah, I posted a picture on Instagram. I built an entry table for our house. Really kind of a simple design, and to my surprise, it's much stronger than I thought it would be. As far as like, I didn't put any cross braces. There's no aprons. There's no stretchers on it, and it's solid. And I think it's the joinery that I did. It just worked out well. So got done with that, and then I built my wife a double hickory frame. I built that out of hickory because it's what I had that was plain and ready to go. By the way, hickory is super hard to work with. That stuff is like
I built a table.
Yeah. Whew. What's funny about that is, so basically I built two frames, and they're 2 foot tall by 18 inches wide. And I put hinges on them, and then she put chicken wire on them, and she puts them on a table and hangs her stained glass from it for craft shows. She had a craft show this weekend, so I built that for her. And I built it, and I said to her, hey, I built it out of hickory. It's really heavy, and you're going to have a hard time, because she's going to staple the chicken wire to it. I said, you're going to have a hard time with that stapler. And I was at work when the kids were napping, and she texted me. She's like, you weren't kidding about this wood. I can barely get a staple into this stuff. And so, but yeah, she got that all made, and that worked out really well. Was happy with that. Outside of that, so, I've got Willie's Wood finishes, Willie's Wood Honey, and I'm in, I think, the final stage of development on like a universal wax. So like a shop wax, you could use it on your tools, use it on wood, you could use it on leather, you could just kind of a universal wax. And so I made a batch of it tonight, and we'll do some more testing on it, and then I'm going to start sending it out. I'll send you a jar of it. I'm going to send a jar to Tom, and just get some thoughts on it. But yeah, so working on that. And one of the things I did want to plug on the podcast, because I'm super impressed with it. Forever, I've been a Titebond guy. Use Titebond glue because Titebond is Titebond. At Workbench Con, I'd met him before, or on Instagram a little bit. I met Nick. He's got Nick's Custom Woodworking on Instagram. He's got like 140,000 followers or something. He's pretty big, but he started Boss Dog Wood Glue, and I was kind of skeptical about it because I'm like, Titebond, like I don't want to leave Titebond, right? But I decided I like supporting the maker community, and so I bought a couple things of glue from him, and I've been using it in all the projects I've been making. I'm switching. There will be no more Titebond in my shop.
What's better about it? What do you like about it?
So there's a couple things I like about it. One, it dries. The color of it is so close to a lot of your lighter like oaks and like hickories that it doesn't stain like a Titebond does. And then it dries harder. So, and I noticed this because I've got those glue brushes that I use to do when I do edge line glue ups and stuff. and I'll always leave because it's satisfying. I leave it full of glue and then I'll peel it off the next day. And Titebond stays very malleable. I've peeled Titebond off after a week sit on a glue thing, and it's always been, and that's probably by design. His gets a lot more rigid, and the glue hardens a lot harder. And so far I've been really happy with it, and it's a thicker viscosity, so it doesn't run as bad, and I just really like the way it works. And then the other side of it that I really like is the smell. It's weird. I never would have thought, but when you do using like your normal Titebond or whatever, it's got that wood glue smell that has a chemical smell to it. His doesn't smell like that. It smells sweeter. It smells better. It just has a better. Cool. It's weird. Like you don't think about that. So anyways, and the other side is I know Nick and I've met him and I've spent time with him and, gotten to know him, and I like supporting him and I like the glue. It works really well. And so the only thing is he compares it to a Titebond 2. I've always been a TB3 guy, which is, waterproof. His is water resistant. And so, he said you could use it on outside projects and stuff. But if you're going to like dip something in water or something in for a long, like it's just not made for that. It doesn't have the chemicals in it as like a Titebond 3 does. That's, made for that. So Boss Dog wood glue, absolutely love it. Really happy with it. Just wanted to give that a quick plug on here. But yeah, so other than that, just working a lot and ready for some time off. I got a week vacation coming up in April. I'm looking forward to. It's not even vacation; it's staycation, and I'm be working harder that week than I do at my normal job because I'm going to be on the property getting stuff done. So, but man, so Jason, where can people find you as far as all your Instagram accounts, and if they want to reach out, where are they going to find you?
So my main is McFarland Customs. But I've also got brand specific pages. So like I've got the Exact 90 and I also have the Mac mounts. The only reason I have the in front of both of those is because there was already accounts for like Exact 90 and Mac mounts. I couldn't get those on socials. So everything is the Mac mounts and the Exact 90. Hang on, is it? Either way, Exact 90 and Mac mounts is the two. Both of those also have their own website. So like the macmounts.com and it's exact90.com, or McFarland Customs will also take you to exact90.com. But Mac mounts is its own thing. Those are the three that you'll find me on. I've also got Toys on 10th if you just want to follow another Instagram account, but it's not active. But that's me.
That's awesome, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on the podcast, and looking forward to having more guests. And I'll plug this again. Tom and I talked about it last week on the podcast, and just so you know, we are planning to do 2020 fall of 2025 Faith Talks Wood Retreat. And so what we're kind of envisioning is a Christian, obviously a Christian-based woodworking retreat / I would say it was a conference. We want it to be a place where you can come, break away, get intimate with God, and get your hands on some tools and make some sawdust and enjoy time with other makers. And so Tom and I are working on that. We're excited about what God's going to do with that. We kind of realized after going to Workbench Con, we're like, there's a lot of Christian makers, a lot of Christian woodworkers. And I think Tom and I both think it's a, I don't want to say an untapped market because this isn't a financial thing for us. It's a place that needs to be, the light needs to be shown. And so, yeah, we're going to start Faith Talks Wood Retreat. I'm excited about that. I've been thinking about it.
Super nice.
Yeah. So, and we're going to bounce it. So Probably the first year it'll be here in Pennsylvania, and then the following year it'll be in Colorado where Tom's at. And so we're going to bounce it West Coast to East Coast. And then that way it's accessible, if you're within the area, the northeastern area where I'm at, it won't be as expensive for you to get here. But and then the next year, if you're in Colorado, Nevada, Texas, over that way, it's be easier, that year. Of course, Tom and I will be at both. And so, we'll make that happen. But so, yeah, that's something that we're looking forward to, and we're praying about what that's going to look like. So as we record this, that episode's already come out. But we're waiting to hear some feedback from people to make sure there's going to be interest, and then we'll roll with it. So, yeah, give that a little bit of a plug on the podcast. Tom, any thoughts on that?
Cool.
I've mentioned it to a few people, and everybody I've mentioned it to has said, man, I'm on board. I'll be there. So I think just like we crave something like that to go to, I think everybody else does as well. So that's just, it's like we talked about. I enjoyed being around the like-minded people at Workbench Con, but the rest of it, I just craved more. I craved more hands-on tools, and also craved less partying, and it's I just think something where we go and get fed spiritually, and then get to have some real time learning something, spending time making something would just be a blast. And then some hangout time around a campfire worshiping. It'll just be a place where you go, and like I came home mentally exhausted from Workbench Con. I think you're going to come home spiritually refreshed from our retreat. And that's what I want you to come home from it, on fire for God and excited about getting back in the shop, so.
Absolutely. So awesome. Well, getting late, but Jason, we appreciate you coming on the podcast, and look forward to seeing that baby yours come into this world. When's the baby due?
Holy cow, dude. That thing is growing faster than I could imagine. Like I feel like my wife just got pregnant like last week, and she's already more than halfway through pregnancy. It's completely ridiculous how fast time goes. We've got a due date of July 24th. I think it is 24th. Yeah, we'll go with 24th. I may be off on this. It may be like the 23rd or something like that. But babies never. More than likely, it's sometime around then. But yeah, it's crazy how fast time goes whenever you don't realize it's going right past you.
You think it's
so?
Wait till now?
Yeah.
You wait till that baby's born.
Oh my goodness,
that's when the time flies.
I've not talked about it a lot lately, but there was something I came up with kind of towards the beginning of the year, like this little quick saying, and I don't know if I'm the first person, I'm sure I'm not, but like be where your feet are has been something I have tried to make like a me thing. So like it kind of helps with the time flying past, because if you're the gist of be where your feet are. So like whenever you go somewhere, like focus 110% on everything that's around you right there and nothing else. So like if you're out to dinner with your family, your phone doesn't exist. If you're working, 100% focus on work. Like, because if you're not 100% focused, you're going to miss something. You're not going to be as good at whatever you're doing. So I'm trying to do just that, be where your feet are. Because time flies. It's like, and you can't get it back. But holy cow, yeah. I'm so excited. It's going to be a little boy. His name's going to be Cooper, and I am stoked. Like I've wanted a kid. We've not like, we're definitely not ready. I don't think anybody's ever ready to have their first. But oh my gosh, I'm beyond excited to have my little man. I'm stoked. So like, yeah, I've been a maker my whole life.
It's an exciting time.
Now I was gonna say I've been a maker my whole life, but now my wife is like the maker. It's like I can make really cool stuff with plastic. I can make cool stuff with wood, but my wife's making a freaking human. Like that is sick. Like, that is so cool. Like, how many, like, women are awesome.
Yeah. And the one thing I will
awesome.
say, whatever you do, make sure you're there to see it born. That is the most fascinating day of my life. The day I got to watch my daughter come into the world. And, oh my gosh, my wife was in labor for 21 hours. So,
oh my goodness.
yeah,
Poor woman.
it was, but, man, it's just miraculous. It's like you just said, she's making a human. And when you see that little human come out and it's all gooey and covered in all that stuff. And, but dude, it's just, it's unexplainable until you experience it. You just don't understand. But, man, I tell you, it's
and
good.
a couple things will happen too. One, after that, you will appreciate your wife even more than you do now.
I'm excited
My
for
wife
that.
is the strongest person in my life. Like, after seeing what she went through with 2 kids, homegirl has got the cake on this, right? I honestly, like, and then the other thing is what I found it. Now, we had C-sections on both of ours, not intentionally. Well, the second one was, but the first one was not. But they hand you the baby, like the dad, like, here you go, dad. It's like, I don't know what to do with this. And like, you just got the baby here and you're like, oh my goodness. And so you learn real quick that there's an innate sense of parenthood within you that God has implanted in you. And you will know right away that there's nothing more in this world that you can love more than in this world than that baby. And that's something that I've cherished, and I love both my kids. And man, I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see the updates and when that happens, and then ask you how your sleep's going there about a month after. So,
right. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the whole love thing. Like, you know, of course, our parents tell us, you know, my parents said I was blessed to have 2 parents that were involved. I know that a lot of people don't get that, but I personally experienced some parents that express that they love me more than anything. And, you know, you're like, when you're 10, you're like, shut up, mom. But now that I'm almost there, I can see it. And I'm like, okay, maybe she really does love me more than anything else in the entire world. And it's like, okay, that is kind of cool. Like, it's cool seeing the other side of the fence. Finally, it's right. Kind of wild.
Now, do you have siblings, Jason?
Yeah. Yep. I got a little sister. She's awesome. She's okay. Yeah. We're not like super tight, but like, there's no like beef between us. I could beat her up, but like, you know.
I will say that Tom has one, you know, after having Olivia, it's interesting the difference, like how different they are, Eli versus Olivia, as far as their personalities. And but my love for each of them is beyond what I could ever imagine. But they're different. And so it's an interesting dynamic if you guys end up having more kids in the future. We decided to have more because our first one was so easy, and our second one is wild. She is nuts. She's going to she's the reason rules are made, is all I'm saying.
A wild child.
Oh my gosh, man. That's
awesome.
I can't even, she's crazy, but awesome, man. Well, we could chat here all night, but just for anybody out there, if you have any questions about faith or woodworking, Tom and I want to hear from you. We haven't heard from anybody lately. Shoot us an email, questions@faithtalkswood.com. You can shoot us an Instagram message if you're on Instagram at Faith Talks Wood. You can shoot me one as well, or Tom. And we look forward to getting those questions in. But getting late, guys. Until next week, I'm Will from Flat Woodworks.
And I'm Tom from Mountain Valley Maker.